Hello, hello. Welcome back to the Joyride podcast. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. We're just going to jump right into it. I'm feeling very inspired when it comes to recording these episodes right now. I recorded the first episode yesterday, listened to it back, and I kind of just want to share my thought process and how I want to now move forward with this podcast. I was talking in the last episode about what was holding me back from coming back and just having this sense of quality control and perfectionism. But I also failed to mention that when it comes to me just truly living in the present moment and living my life, I feel like I'll experience something, be in the present moment, process it, and then just move on to the next thing. And I have found with myself when it comes to a lot of creative projects, and let's say I go to make a piece of content for social media or Instagram. If I wait too long, I'm just I'm over it. I processed it. Why the fuck would I go ahead and share this, And I think that with this podcast, I'm realizing that obviously there's no perfect time for anything ever, but my truth is what I feel in this present moment, and I feel very called to share that truth, and I feel very called to express however I'm feeling in that present moment. So just do it and then get it the fuck out there, which is something that I talk to a lot of friends and clients about, and a lot of people have commended me for how I go about my social media. They're just it's so authentic and it's so raw and it's so real, and I'm yeah, because that's just how I operate. I just can't pre-rehearse things. I don't even know how to do that. It doesn't make any sense to me. And when I've tried to do that in the past, I have all of these ideas come to me, you guys, all day, every day, ideas for content, ideas for programs and things that I want to do. It's just a never-ending stream of ideas that comes through. But sometimes sometimes I'll try to just plan it out. I'm okay, I have this idea, I write it down, and I'm okay, tomorrow I'm going to do it, or I'm going to execute on this idea. Half the time, actually more than half the time, it never fucking happens. But I just feel called, when it comes to posting the content, actually posting it, unless I'm doing it in raw real time and then just uploading it, it feels, okay, I've had the thought, I've had the revelation for myself. That's it. I'm over it. So moving forward with this podcast, in order to, change shit up, because I love fucking change, Gemini moon, as much as I love change, it's also very hard when you're stuck in a reoccurring pattern, which all of us, we're all continuously living out these patterns and habits. That's just life, and that's just what we do. And the challenge of a lifetime is really creating a new pattern. But moving forward, it's okay, cool, I have that awareness. Now we need to actually move from an aligned space, again, aligned action, and I need to do things differently in order to get a different result. So I'm okay, when it comes to the podcast, record the episode, listen to it, and then just get it up there, and don't sit on it too long, because when I sit on things for too long, then I think, oh, it's not good enough, or, oh, the time passed, I'm over it. I'm okay, on to the next, and then I don't even want to let it out, and I don't even want to share it, and I don't want to do that this time, so we're not going to do that. I'm just sharing about it and expressing about it here because it's holding me accountable. So what I want to get into today is I came up with this idea, honestly, a long time ago, but now I'm executing it, with doing these mini podcast episodes. As you guys know, if you've been a listener here, my mind just wanders and I go in so many different directions. But there are specific things that I want to share about and I want to talk about in kind of a mini episode. So it's just a good episode for you to listen to if you just really want to hit the ground running and get hit with the wisdom and all the things, and you don't feel like listening to a whole ass fucking episode. These mini episodes are going to be very specific and very niche. So we're going to start off the first one with talking about following your creative joy. It's something that I've been thinking about a lot lately because I've been doing a lot of introspection around like what it actually feels like and what it actually means to be a creative and just simply create, because we're here to create and not attach the outcome to any type of monetary value or recognition or status or achievement or anything like that. I've been kind of like off and on thinking about this for a while, and honestly, this idea comes up for me a lot when I go to post on social media. Like even today, you guys, I think why I feel this way is one, like I get so angry and agitated, and I think I'm really, really sensitive to people not engaging in my content. Like if you are, let's just call it a content creator. Not to say that you need to be a big influencer or anything, but if you are like actively creating content, right? You're not just like posting at a family wedding once every 6 months. Like that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about someone who's running a business or is looking to gain more exposure, anything like that. You don't have to actually be a quote unquote influencer. But like, look at me, I'm a content creator. When I see my friends, like good fucking friends, or people that have just followed along my journey for a long time, who I know look at all my shit, when they look at my stories and they don't like my posts or comment on my posts, I get so fucking irritated. Like I can't even tell you guys how many times I've whipped out my phone to make a piece of content and I just like go ham and I go off because it bothers me so much. And I've had to take a look at myself because, you know, we all scroll, we all do the thing. But sometimes I like catch myself in the act. I'm like going through someone's stuff and I'm just feeling lazy. And I'm like, I'm not going to like it, or I like it and I'm not going to comment on it. And then I'm like, wait. This is one of my really good friends. I want to give them I want to give them a comment. And I'm so much better at it now because I'm so aware of how much it triggers me and just like truly how much it fucking pisses me off. So if you're one of my best friends and you're listening to this episode, like just know that it triggers me when you see my shit on my story and you don't engage in it. Like that to me, it's honestly hurtful, and maybe I'm just super sensitive about this because of all my Cancer placements and whatever, and all my Libra placements. But like, I feel like you can't truly resonate with this unless you're actually creating content yourself. For those that just like never create content, you may not even think twice about this. Honestly, you're just like going through your feed, scrolling through your story, blah, blah, blah. But to me, I'm like, okay, one, if you're one of those people that just is notorious for scrolling and skipping past stories, that just doesn't even make any sense to me. Like, you've got a problem and you need to fix that because that is not good. Like, get the fuck off of Instagram if you're actually that lazy and you can't even engage in what you're looking at. But if you aren't lazy and if you go to Instagram because you do want to connect and find inspiration and catch up, and you just, you know, are on the app for whatever reason and you just aren't engaging with other people's posts, to me, I'm like, I feel some type of way about it. I can get a little nasty, honestly, and get a little like sassy, fierce bitch about it and be like, okay, well, if you're not brave enough to make the content, if you're not brave enough to like go after your dreams and put yourself out there, like at least fucking support us who are, you know, like I can take that stance and be really honestly kind of aggressive about it and be like, listen, bitches, we're the ones doing this for you guys. So the least that you could do is support us. But then again, I think a lot of people just like aren't even thinking twice about it, but it just is, it's annoying. And I know that it doesn't just get under my skin. I've seen a lot of videos lately about this. It just is honestly kind of hurtful. Like, people spend a lot of time on their content. And I'm one of those people that I don't like to spend too long on editing a video or a piece of content because honestly, I don't enjoy it. I'm not good at it. It's not one of my skills. It's not one of my talents. I'm like, I like creating it in the moment for whatever I'm doing. Again, I'm not a planned content girly. I'm like, we're doing a workout, record me doing the workout. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's very in the moment and it's very flow, but I'm not someone who just like geeks out at like the editing process. Like, I hate it. And if I could just be the star in the show and someone else could post my content, that would be fucking amazing. But yeah, I just wanted to mention it because this goes along with the topic of following your creative joy and not attaching, you know, what you're creating to the likes, to the status, to the recognition, to the money, to all the things. Also an idea that was brought up to me lately was through this psychic reading that I had the other day. And we were talking a lot about like really healing and changing the way that, I don't even know how to say this. There was an emphasis on ancestral and generational patterns and things. And I got to thinking, like, with my parents have always supported me in everything I've ever done. But I find that, like, with someone like my dad, who built his empire from literally nothing, never had social media, doesn't have social media, doesn't want it, will never get it. Like, when I talk to him about my business, a lot of it falls back on, like, what opportunities are happening and, like, how much money are you making? And I know that he's not bringing that up to make me feel bad. It just is the way that he's wired. And when I was in this psychic reading, I was thinking a lot about, like, truly what is my definition of success? Because, listen, like, I am very confident in who I am, and I'm at this point where I'm very confident in my talents and my gifts and what I'm here to do. But I've run many programs where no one signs up. Like, I've done things where, like, I don't get a lot of recognition, and it doesn't feel great, to be honest. And I'm still learning to detach from, like, okay, what does that mean? Does it mean that I'm not good? Does that mean that I'm not good enough to do something like this? This is so hard for so many of us because, listen, no one's an overnight story. And the people that are, like, I don't know what's happening in their world, what crazy manifestations they're doing or what's happening. But for most people, like, it takes a long ass fucking time for them to gain real status and real money and real recognition. And if you hear these stories, I mean, I'm thinking about, like, Savon Ayla. I'm thinking about, like, Lauren Bostic. These are people, like, in my world that I really, really admire that are in, like, their 30s. I think they're both, like, in their mid-30s. Or like a Desi Perkins. Like, we just forget that these people were blogging and doing YouTube for, like, 7-8 years. And yes, it didn't take them necessarily that long for them to get paid really well for what they're doing or gain some type of status or recognition. But, like, they were doing this simply because they loved it. And I think it's so easy for us who are just now getting started. I mean, I technically am just now getting started in the coaching business and doing what I'm doing. But to be honest, it feels like I've been doing this for way longer than I have because I've been infusing the skills in so many different jobs that I had previously. So it's hard because on one end, I'm like, I am such a beginner and I still have so much to learn and I still just, like, have to keep chipping away at it. But on the other end, I'm like, I deserve the status. I deserve the money. I deserve the recognition. Like, of course I believe in myself, and of course I'm confident, and of course I want to be paid well for what I'm doing. But our job is, you know, can we continue pursuing the things that truly light us up, the creative, you know, projects and just creative hobbies and passions, and not attach what we're doing to, is it going to instantly blow up? Is it going to gain me X amount of followers? Am I going to get X amount, you know, of money from this? Are my parents going to be proud of me? What are my friends going to think of me? Because that's honestly the hardest part. I know that at least I feel this way for myself. Sometimes it's easier for me to be like, nope. Like, why? Like, I see such a big vision for myself, and it's something that I'm continuously having to overcome. And I have to remind myself, like, Rebekah, this is just a part of the journey, and a motto that I tell myself that I'm constantly going back to is, I will not get to the point that I want to hit unless I keep going. Like, that's it. It's so simple. It's just, like, it's such a good line because if you really, really think about it, you're like, fuck. Like, they're truly like, how am I going to become this person? How am I going to make this amount of money? How am I going to get to where I know that I want to go if I don't continue? Like, you just can't. And the problem is so many of us think, like, yes, I believe in quantum leaping. Yes, I believe in skipping some steps because I'm a man gen and I fucking skip steps all the time. And then I have to go backwards because I'm like, la-di-da, I don't have to do this. But at the same time, it's like, let's be fucking for real. I think that's one of my new favorite sayings. Let's be fucking for real, okay? Like, they're just, you gotta go through the journey and you gotta go through the process. And like these people that we all admire, you don't have to admire the same people that I admire, but I promise you that the people that you are looking up to and the people that you are aspiring to be like, not inspiring. The people that you are aspiring to be like, they have been on a journey for quite some time. Even when I think about myself and like just recording this podcast right now, I knew for the longest time that I wanted to have a podcast. And before knowing that I wanted to have a podcast, I knew that I just wanted to share my voice and I wanted to share my truth. I remember shortly after graduating college, which was back in 2017. Yeah, it's been a long ass time. I wanted to start a YouTube channel. And I remember whipping out my camera one day, sitting at my desk and like trying to film this video. It's so funny to think about it now. Trying to film this video explaining to people my why and how I came about my why. Basically, the whole video was like how men never chose me. Honestly, like I don't even know how far I got because I hated how I sounded. I was ripping myself apart with everything that I was saying. But I had this deep desire within me to just share. Like that's all that I fucking wanted to do. I just wanted to share my voice. And I loved watching YouTube at the time. So like it made sense. I got myself a camera, the whole thing. I didn't end up using the camera for years because just for one reason or another, I convinced myself like, no, it wasn't time, blah, blah, blah. And here I am now. I'm a life coach. I love what I do. I'm so good at what I do. I love speaking. I love hosting events. I love having this podcast. I love that I am someone that knows that sharing and communicating how I feel is just like the ultimate form of expression for me. I love that. I fucking love talking. I love talking so much. It makes me feel so good. And that's a part of like how I create my joy, honestly, like because this is a gift of mine and I love it so much. So I really want you to think like we can't be so obsessed with the money. You can't be so obsessed with like who's watching and how many likes am I going to get and how many impressions and like how long is this going to take? Because when you start to go down that rabbit hole and you focus on the metrics, which listen, a lot of people would argue with me and they're like, no, you got to follow the metrics. You got to see the trending sounds and the audio and all that. Listen, that works for some people. Like I've got a really close friend of mine who freaking blew up on Instagram within like less than a year. I want to say like 8 months. He's killing it, absolutely crushing it, killing it. That is how his mind works. He found out, how to work the algorithm. All of his videos like look very similar. He's got a theme going on, but he also is doing something very, very, very different than me. He's an online coach, like a fitness coach. And we've had many conversations about it. And I'm like, the way that I operate, like I could never just do something that's a little more cookie cutter streamlined like what you do. What I have to share is like raw, real insights that just like get channeled through me and I just like share what I want to share. So my process is so different than his process. And I'm not mad or upset that like the dude is doing so well. Like I'm so proud of him. And I'm like, holy shit, Jeremy, like you fucking did this. This is so cool. Because I remember when he was just getting started and things weren't working out. And like that's what works for him. But like I'm just all about realness. I'm all about rawness. I'm all about authenticity and being truthful. And what feels truthful to me is sharing with you all that like it is so okay to follow your creative joy, to follow the things that light you up. And it's going to be so hard if you turn one of those things into a business, or if you're like, hey, I'm really good at this and I would love to become an influencer, or I would love to gain exposure, or I would love to make money off of this. Like that's totally fine. I'm like so down. I know a lot of people say like the things that you really love and enjoy, your hobbies, like don't turn into a business. Like I did it. And yes, a lot of days I put a lot of pressure on myself and it's stressful, but like, why shouldn't I be paid well for what I'm really fucking good at and what I really enjoy? Like that makes a lot of sense in my mind. But at the same time, yes, I do have hobbies that I don't feel called to share about as often, or I just like to do. Like, I don't know, there's so many different things. So I think whatever route you're going down is totally fine. But if there are things that you would like to monetize or things that you would like to put online, I just want you to really work on detaching from any type of money or success or recognition. And just know that like you creating is what it's about. Like, and that sounds so like, oh, that's really sweet. But like, it's fucking true, right? Like, we are here to be creative. Like, we are literally here to create this magical world for ourselves. And I truly, wholeheartedly believe that if you just love something so much and you happen to be really good at it, and like why wouldn't you make a lot of money? Like, I've always told myself, especially when it comes to coaching and finally just like truly exercising my gifts and creating a business, and I'm like, shit, I don't know what's to come for me, but I know that there are certain things that I want to do. Like, I want to be on big stages, and I want to host events and workshops, and I want to continue to get better at coaching and all these things, and I want to pour more into fitness, and like, there are so many different things, and I have to remind myself that if I continue on, like, the success is inevitable, because with the success comes a richer life, comes a more fulfilling life. It's not just about like yes, in a sense, I want to show myself. I'm working on like removing, like proving to myself, because I'm like, listen, I don't need to prove anything to anyone, especially myself. But I would like to show myself that like, hey, a lot of money can come from this. Like, a lot of exposure can come from this. A lot of recognition can come from this. Because guess what? I want the exposure, and I want people to recognize me. I want people to know my name, and I want them to be like, wow, she changed my life. Like, that feels really, really good to me. It may feel differently to you because you may not want that. That's totally fine. But to me, I'm like, shit, I really would like that. So I keep on having to remind myself when things don't work out, or no one signs up, or barely anyone looks at, a reel that I make, or just something. I'm like, listen, I always have to check in with myself and say, like, is this something that you just wanted to create, or are you doing it just to do it? Because we have to be really, really careful. Are we creating something? Are we posting something? Are we saying something just to get a reaction out of people, just so that we said that we did it? Like, I don't vibe with that. Like, I don't want to do anything because, like, I have to do it. Like, yes, I feel a duty to do everything that I'm doing. Like, this is my calling for sure. But at the same time, I'm like, I get to be me, and I get to create, and I get to share in a way that truly just feels really right for me and feels really authentic to me. And guess what? Some people are going to be lazy assholes and not like my shit. And guess what? Like, I'm constantly reminded about marketing, like how you need 7 touch points on a post for someone to start engaging in it. To me, I'm like, that's such bullshit. Like, I can see something once and know if it's for me or not. But guess what? I'm really fucking in tune, and I know what I want. And I guess a lot of people just are still working on that, which is fine. But it just can get, honestly, really frustrating and really exhausting and really debilitating. So I'm here to validate you and say that, like, if you are someone that is, creating and putting yourself out there, whether that's like a passion project that you're sharing, a new business, a hobby, whatever, like for whatever, stage you're at in your journey, like, I just want to validate you and say, like, how can we all continue to detach from the end goal, from like the success and the recognition and all these things, and really pour more of our energy into, like, am I truly enjoying the process? Because if you're not, then you shouldn't be doing this in the first place. And I'm not to say that it's bad to think like, okay, I want to make a lot of money from this, and I want to get a lot of exposure, and I want a lot of recognition and all these things. Like, I don't think that's bad, but at the end of the day, like no one's forcing you to do this. No one's forcing you to do anything. And you may, say to yourself, like, well, I have to do this and blah, 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 and I have to. No, like, you really don't have to do anything that you really, really, really don't want to do. Like, we live in a very kind universe that gives you lots of options to do things. So, yeah, I hope that resonated with you in some sense, especially, like, if you needed to hear something like this today. That is going to conclude the first of many, many episodes to come. Thank you for listening to the Joyride podcast. I love you so much. Thank you for being here, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.